And joining us tonight, Gordon Chang, Daily Beast contributor, author of The Coming Collapse of China. Gordon, good to have you here. Let's start with first the quickness with which the North Koreans and their abrupt change in demeanor sought to restore the summit with President Trump.
It certainly took me by surprise yesterday. You know, after the president withdrew from the summit, you had a series of communications from North Korea, all of them conciliatory. The last one even more nice, as the president said, you know, saying that they would meet the United States anytime, any place, any format. That's a real indication that President Trump has got their number.
You know what amuses me is to watch the so-called talking heads and the foolish, absolutely foolish commentariat in Washington, D.C. of both parties now suddenly clucking about the president wanting to counsel him again. These were the same idiots who 24 hours previously had been dissing the president because they thought the summit had failed. And before that, by the way, they were against the summit, but once it collapsed, they wanted to criticize him for that. I mean, they really don't know what they're talking about. And we do understand one thing. The airwaves are filled, whether from the floors of the Senate and the House or from the commentariat and all of the studios and various networks with abject idiocy. This must drive the president nuts to have to put up with this.
I'm sure he's probably pretty happy right now because he's proved everybody else wrong.
I know he's happy, but he's got to be sick to his gut to have to listen to fools on parade constantly.
Yeah. You know, the veteran American diplomat Stapleton Roy, former ambassador to China, ambassador to Indonesia. He now works for Kissinger. And he has said something which is...
I know Kissinger.
Yeah, you know. He said something which really resonates, and that is, he once said, look, no one has ever figured out how to deal effectively with the North Koreans. Well, that was true until yesterday when we had the president, as you said, the master class in dealing with North Koreans. And he basically just pushed them around, got them to actually sort of cry uncle.
You know, we haven't had a president before who, at least not in recent times, who said what he meant what he said. This president he is beguiling because he does exactly that and is playing a game. As he said, everyone plays games. If he's going to play a game, he's going to play it 3 to 4 moves ahead of whoever his opponent is, whether it is Kim Jong-un or whether it's President Xi. And the fools in Washington, D.C. haven't really caught up to that reality.
Yeah, and that's certainly true. You know, we now have a pathway to peace. We may not get there, but nobody thought we would have this summit. Nobody thought we would see the North Koreans.
And we still may not, as the president has said. His conditions are absolute. They're non-negotiable, and he is moving ahead.
Yeah, the North Koreans really need things from Trump, and we need Trump to give them sanctions relief. You know, before this, we had sanctions on...
President Trump to give the North Koreans sanctions relief.
No, the North Koreans need sanctions relief from President Trump.
I just trying to get all the dependency there associated correctly, because I don't think we need any of it.
No, but what has happened is Trump created the conditions where the North Koreans had to speak to him. There was the sanctions relief. There were the threats to attack North Korean nuke and missile facilities. And, you know, Kim is very much that understands that his continued survival depends on the U.S.
But do we know that, Gordon? I think we are still dealing with a considerable, vague, vaporous, ethereal image of who this man is. It was not Kim who spoke in response to the president canceling that summit. It was a gentler, wiser representative of the regime taking great pains to be somewhat deferential, to placate a man who said he was very clearly disappointed in the hostility and the anger that the regime had expressed. And I got the sense that response was what it took for the president to embrace moving forward.
Yeah, and this is important because we've never seen the North Koreans do this before. You know, we've seen them huff and puff, and all of a sudden, you know, within the space of minutes, they take a very different position. They show that they've got a much weaker hand, and that's because the president withdrew from the summit and forced them into a position which for them was untenable.
I think we know how weak their hand is, though. We have known throughout previous presidents, whether Clinton or Bush or Obama, They just didn't have the intelligence and the character to negotiate in support of a goal. And this president has that plus. I think it's where I have to say to you, give us your forecast. Will there be a summit or will there not? And will she preserve the momentum that's been established here?
Okay, we will have a summit. It may not be June 12th, but it could be, for instance, in July or August, because the North Koreans...
Well, we've waited 30 years. I think the president has considerable leeway here.
Yeah, but I think it will occur because... And Xi Jinping, I think, is going to have he's probably going to be unnerved by President Trump. We'll probably end up with a decent trade deal, I hope. I'm a little bit concerned about the ZTE arrangement. But,
is there any reason for the ZTE deal that you can see? I mean, think about it. A communist country, I don't know, you can explain that in a minute. Let me say it's a communist country that can do whatever it wishes with all of those workers. It is a command and control economy. Why should the president worry about 88,000 workers, Chinese workers?
No, he shouldn't. But I think what's going on here is just a guess, Lou. I think what he's trying to do is get approval for Bain to buy Toshiba and for Qualcomm to buy NXP semiconductors. The Chinese are holding up both of those deals. I suspect that that's what's in the back of the president's mind. It's certainly not Chinese jobs. It's not even the $1.3 billion fine or changing the management team, which really, to me, is substituting one set of criminals for another. I think it's really the question of getting Chinese approval on all of these mergers.